the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Note for the record that Commissioner Jameson, for good cause, is excused from attendance tonight. Let's start with approval of the minutes of August the 12th.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Anybody opposed? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And it's unanimous. Attorney, Manager Gailey is introducing a new item in our agenda, a program update, much needed, with people who are kind of running our activities. Gailey?
Yes, thank you. As I had made mention a couple of months ago, one thing that we'd like to kick off starting this evening is bringing forth a department each month, kind of showcase that department and have them talk for 15 or 20 minutes on the good things that they're doing within their department. A lot of times we go about our day and we see items here and there on the agenda, but we really don't hear from the department head and their staff about what's really going on day to day and some of the cool things that county departments are working on. So first up this year, and to kick off the process and set the standard for all the other departments, is public health. And you've already met Liz this evening. With Liz, we have Bridget O'Connor, Alexis Guy, and Angela Giordano, all in the audience. And they all, I believe, will be chipping in to some aspects of the presentation. So I will turn it over to Liz. It's all yours.
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much for having us today. We're excited to share with you some of the work we've been doing. I thought I would just share with you again, just remind you that we did a county health improvement plan a few years ago, and the work of the public health department is really, the work we end up doing is very much in line with whatever's in the county health improvement plan. It's guiding our work, it's guiding what we're looking to for additional funding. And right now we have grants that supports at least some efforts within the highlighted goals. So we have other things that we're doing in the department that we'd love to share with you another time. Today, we're just going to share with you some of the work we're doing around prevention. So I just also wanted to just give you like a little reminder of the role of public health, and it's the role we play because we see ourselves doing the role that's really in the emerging practice. And our role really is to help assess the health of communities. You know, we do a lot of work looking at data. We do a lot of work of talking to community about what their needs are and what they think some of the solutions should be. We do a lot of collaboration. We collaborate with many organizations within communities. We convene folks. We bring them together and connect to make improvements in the community. And then, of course, we prevent. We prevent health problems before they start. And so today, I'm excited to share with you some of the work we've been doing in prevention through our main prevention grant, network grant. So I have some folks, some staff here that have been doing some incredible work, and I'm going to have them share with you some of that work. Start, Bridget.
Yeah, sure. I'm Bridget O'Connor. I'm the Chronic Disease Prevention Program Manager here at Cumberland County Public Health Department. In that role, I oversee the implementation of this Maine Prevention Network grant. It's a 10-year project out of Maine CDC that is supporting chronic disease prevention. So here, what we've established the priority to be is to achieve a health equity, which means that ensuring everyone has a fair and full opportunity to be as healthy as possible, with a focus on 3 core areas. So we are funded specifically to do work in substance use prevention, tobacco prevention, and healthy eating, active living. There are distinct and unique goals that go along with each of those. The common thread throughout really is that focus on health equity. So I'll just speak very quickly about how health equity looks. We really wanted to give staff the opportunity to show you the details on the ground, boots on the ground, examples of what it looks like, but just a couple overarching elements of how we do the work, specifically about health equity. That means centering groups of people who have historically been prevented from achieving health due to systemic barriers, cultural conditions, community conditions that really drive health. Do counseling, we do not do health education in classrooms. We really focus on those community conditions, using that framework that for the assessing, collaborating, and strategy identification. So there's that community condition focus, and then another core element of our work is on community engagement. And so staff work with different groups to find specific and unique ways to address health issues that affect them. And so we don't want to be the ones defining the problem. We want priority populations to be the ones identifying the problem and then helping identify the solutions that can meet their needs. So again, theories and practices that ground our work, and then Angela and Alexis will be presenting on what that looks like on the ground. Just one quick note about how we do this work. We do not do it alone. We do cover the entire county. So the funding comes through Cumberland County Public Health Department, and then we partner with Portland Public Health to lead the tobacco prevention. They have a long history of expertise in tobacco prevention, so they likewise serve the county. And then Midcoast Hospital, they serve Brunswick and Harpswell. They are seen as the public health leaders in those communities. They focus on tobacco, healthy eating, and active living, and substance use for those communities. Again, it's whom has the trust, who has the relationship building to do that community engagement work, and they serve that role in Brunswick and Harpswell. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague Angela, who leads the substance use prevention program for Cumberland County, to let us know what that looks like. Thank you, Bridget. Of course.
Hi everyone, really happy to be with you to share with you a couple highlights of our work that I think speak really nicely to some of the framing that my colleagues here did. So the first one was something that we led back in the winter and spring months with Lake Region High School. We had a community strategic planning process that we led with the school district support, as well as community partners, the Bridgeton Community Resilience Builder out of the Opportunity Alliance, and this was something that cross-cut tobacco and substance use prevention teams, and we have a couple of shared staff that were part of this initiative too. And so the focus was really to do this planning process to think about what are those kind of key pieces that support student well-being in the Lake Region area that support prevention of vape use. And so we convened, I think we had about 15 high school students that were in this group. We had school staff, we had community partners there as well as ourselves, and we had several sessions that we led folks through. We provided some framing for folks to think about visioning what is needed to support sort of those upstream factors that support well-being in the Lake Region for young people. And we also ran some interviews and focus groups and really kind of got into identifying what those strengths are in the community that we could lean on, where there were gaps in health services or other gaps, and thinking about co-creating this action plan to kind of address some of those things that they were seeing on the ground. So really speaking to that kind of community-led, community-driven identification of potential solutions and interventions. And so what you see on the screen is those key foundation pieces that the strategic plan came up with that through that visioning process that were really important and key to youth well-being in the community. And then out of that, they prioritized some strategies that they wanted to see happen. And so some of those, there's been some great progress on. First was the development of third spaces, so social spaces that promote connection and belonging and community. They were interested in a clear restorative accountability process around substance use and other, policy violations, having effective tobacco treatment resources, and amplification of current out-of-school time opportunities, so things that young people can be involved in outside of the school day. And so our team collaborated with the Center for Tobacco Innovations, Tobacco Treatment for Teens, and the program has been launched this fall in the school to provide or expand on-site treatment resources for young people. Andrew, our restorative practice system specialist, is working with the school to continue restorative practices within the school setting, including working with staff and bridging that to student spaces for continued community building amongst those folks. And then our tobacco and substance use prevention staff also collaborated again with the Bridgeton Community Resilience Builder to help create a Laker Lounge space in the school itself, so that third space within the school, and also starting to think about those out-of-school time opportunities. So that's a first highlight, lots good there. And then the second one is around a population of focus for us, so our LGBTQ plus youth, and sort of kind of keeping with that health equity focus. Some of our work is really specifically geared to thinking about our LGBTQ plus youth in our communities, because we know that they face greater barriers to health and well-being. We have about 1 in 4 high school students that are reporting on the Maine Integrated Youth Health Survey that they are LGBTQ plus. And we also are seeing within that survey that those young people are reporting, they're less likely to report those protective factors like family support, teacher support, feeling safe in their school, feeling like they matter in their community than their non-LGBT peers. And they're also reporting at higher rates some of those risk factors that we're looking to intervene on too. So experiences of bullying and other kinds of violence, having 4 or more adverse childhood experiences, and as I said earlier, lower feelings of school safety. So we know that these differences contribute to the differences that we're seeing in terms of early substance use rates, and greater likelihood to report having mental health, experiencing mental health challenges as well. And so our team is providing support to youth-serving organizations. We've contracted with Out Maine to provide training to youth-serving organizations to think about how they can create, again, community conditions, environments in their spaces that are inclusive and promote belonging for those young people, so that they have access to those spaces that are really protective. So like I said, we've provided some training. Just to give you some numbers on that, we have trained about 115 staff, including Bridgeton and South Portland Rec summer camp programs, Boys and Girls Club of Southern Maine clubhouse staff, and continued, we just last week had a training with South Portland Rec to also expand that work with their staff who do youth through senior programming in that community. So yeah, 115 staff reaches a bunch of young people through those programs. And one of the things that we're continuing to do to kind of build off that training is assess where those programs are at, particularly with the Boys and Girls Club and South Portland Rec, where they're at and what's going well around these best practices for inclusion and where they'd like to grow. So we're providing technical assistance to support them through that process of like assessing where they're at, figuring out where they want to go, setting some goals, and supporting that along the way with some coaching and resources. So those are the couple highlights. I'll pass it over to Alexis to talk about healthy eating, active living. Thank you.
Thanks. Good evening, everyone. My name is Alexis Guy, and I'm the lead on the healthy eating, active living work. This kind of broadly is work that focuses on food and food access and access to opportunities to be active. So I'd like to just share a couple of examples to really introduce you to what this work looks like in practice. As Liz mentioned, the County Health Improvement Plan named food insecurity as a priority goal, focusing especially on making sure that households that are eligible are connected to the benefits that they are eligible for, and increasing not just the quantity, but also the quality and cultural relevance of food that's available. So when I started, I initiated conversations with a few partners working in community-based organizations, working in housing, who I knew were connecting folks with food support and information. And from there, this kind of snowballed into a lot of different conversations with partners in healthcare, other community-based organizations, social service organizations, schools, advocacy organizations. All folks who were responsible in kind of serving as community navigator types for food resources and food benefits. And a couple learnings came out of this process. One was that most of these folks were doing this kind of informally. They hadn't had any official training in this. They had learned because they needed to, and they weren't really receiving kind of ongoing technical assistance in doing this. And so there really emerged this need for kind of shared learning opportunities and coming together to coordinate and make sure that efforts weren't duplicating each other. And another learning that emerged from this process of gathering input was that those working in these kind of navigator roles are really uniquely situated to do advocacy around the issues that communities face in accessing resources. There kind of emerged a lot of common barriers across different communities that were beyond the scope of any one individual or organization to address. So kind of the role for public health in this landscape is to support coordination of these folks, help with capacity building, and help offer some mechanisms for doing advocacy. So in October of 2023, I brought together a new countywide network called the Cumberland County Food Resources Coalition. At this point, it includes over 60 people across around 5 different organizations. It is folks are geographically throughout the county. And the group meets regularly to hear presentations from state partners, from other partners in the food land, sharing updates, for sharing opportunities, and currently we are taking on some community engagement around the SNAP application process, and this not only support advocacy process better and more accessible for people who need it, but also the development some tools that are worked on by partners at Good Food Bank and Many that will support the application and enrollment process that people who are eligible are getting for which they are. So just inspiring to see come to and really the next example that I'll highlight ties back to another goal that Liz mentioned, which is improving transportation access. And this was a goal that Angela and I were able to work together on because it really ties into both of our focus areas. So we had been hearing from partners that we've been working with in South Portland for a few years now that transportation is a barrier to youth participation in activities and community spaces when they're not in school. And so as we explored more, it seemed that even like quick fixes would be challenging, so we decided to really focus in on kind of doing some youth-led advocacy in the hopes that that could drive some larger systems change. So this year we partnered with SOPO Unite, which is the local drug-free communities coalition. We recruited 8 students from South Portland High School and modeled a series of sessions based on the Greater Portland Council of Government Transportation Program, which kind of group month starting in January year, and start sharing what is what a system decision made local students and to put experience and so and they including aiming the driving and for improving trans they host and take sharing teams as a 7 make some of the were presented. We had some councils, people, public comment, and group continued this year and for a variety of steps so they took the climate working with
Bill, that I when else get a these body whatever what they
much. Just one quick acid prevention. I think, no, really put main where one gram down to one or budget on point for a half and a half without one payment. We propose to do work and we'll one and they hear five. And so it's so we currently one five. We've their really yes not this there is date the kids again. So you know I work look for the opportunity to first fund the need. So you know we to and work we
the spot level. last one and for 480. And read so the county the Sept just 80 count and accept in the that one all of these the fund is for energy account 24
Year time, we are you present is what this different in we do energy on that easy gather support. But if you take a slide, show work done last two so both be or off it
So, 20
you slide. There you go.
grant the and have separate little point we on was for the 24 was completion 30 gram 7 sure and thing over 5 through the year it funding structure kind of program going to in the see where compared that 12 through 1 these were by the kids received health two of 566 families received affordable access to reliable broadband services, and there was 100 families that received assistance finding or moving into permanent housing.
and 579 households were served by the South Portland Hub, located in the Red Bank neighborhood. This is one of the infrastructure projects that was completed. This was from program year 22, but completed in program year 23. This is a half-mile loop that connects over to the current loop that's at the municipal complex across the street. And this is the Nordic Walking Club that was created, and they wasted no time getting out here. The Harrison Food Bank was a long time coming project. They had an entire sprinkler system and fire alarm system installed. They've done a lot of improvements beyond CDBG that is allowing ADA bathrooms, community rooms, education, as well as serving over 3,000 weekly families at the food bank. And this allowed them to gain the occupancy permit to open up the community center for other activities. The Harpswell Wharf replacement, this dock is used for fishermen, as well as there's a store, and they can bring in their daily catches, and there's not a lot of access to the shore in Cundy's Harbor and Harpswell, so it was a big need for the residents. The Long Island School Library heat pump installation, the building is quite old, and it is such a multifunctional building. It's the school, the library, it's offices. It also holds all of the community plays and different meetings. Their heating system was from the 1950s with an upgrade in 2003, and it was not working for them, and it was quite costly. So we were able to fund them to install 5 heat pumps throughout that is now dependable, reliable, and will not need upgrades for another 15 years. The South Portland Westbrook Street Shared Use Path, this was a multi-phase project that the city had started. This is near the 295 overpass, and it connects to the Red Bank neighborhood. This sidewalk previously was not ADA compliant, and it was quite narrow, and it's heavily used for students going to the new Westbrook Middle School as well as the elementary school. So this now connects all of the neighborhoods walkable or bike. South Portland Land Trust, this is the Clark's Pond Walkway. They were able to have the Appalachian Mountain Club come here, which is, their employees are college students that are looking into getting into this type of work in the outdoors. And we had a set of stairs that was deteriorating and not safe for anybody to travel on, and they were able to come out here and put in a new set of steps. And there was another area that had no stairs that was very steep for you to go around. And then just out of the kindness, they cleaned up all of the shrubbery that was very overgrown throughout the trails. And they actually stayed here for the week. The South Portland fire department allowed them to stay over in their house for the week, so they didn't have to go back and forth, which was very nice. South Portland Housing Authority is installing fiber into 10 of their buildings, and that is going to provide the CDBG funded the labor and materials of this project that they've made quick work of doing, and then the Housing Authority has taken it upon themselves to pay for the equipment and provide all residents with free Wi-Fi that are in those buildings, which is, I think, was 576 families amongst the 10 buildings. The home update, there has been a few affordable housings that have been completed and some that are still underway. 2023 and 2024 funding is going to be paired together. Unfortunately, a project did end up falling through in Cumberland. And we do have somebody that has put in an application for housing in the Scarborough Downs area. And so that is still in process right now. And that's it. Do you have any questions?
Thank you, Courtney.
Thank you very much.
Any questions for Courtney?
Well, welcome. We're glad to
Thanks.
see you.
Thank you.
So, any questions?
Nope.
Thanks a lot. Do we have a public hearing that we'll be holding before this goes in, or are we done?
No, this is the public hearing. You gotta open it up for public hearing.
Anyone who wishes to speak, please come forward. Seeing none? Thank you very much again.
Thank you.
And welcome. New business,
Vote.
oh. And are we voting to accept this, or are we voting to?
To accept and to authorize me to submit it.
So moved.
That is all in order 85?
Yes.
Motion on 85, please?
Does I make a motion?
Second?
Second.
All those in favor, say aye. Those opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you. Next, we have the commissioner appointments to the Finance Committee for a 3-year term. So let's go around to each of the commissioners. Oh, no, we have a list. That's good. District 1 is still being worked on. District 2, and this would be a motion for somebody to make at some point, Dustin Ward and Janice DeLima. District 3, Bob Vale. District 4, Timothy Thompson. And District 5, nobody at the moment, but if nothing good happens soon, it'll be Mark Dion or somebody like that, maybe the city manager too, I don't know. But the
So
ones I've,
moved.
Can't be the city manager.
oh, that's right, not even elected. But she might hold a post of some kind as part of the,
Still doesn't
part of the
qualify.
job.
Nope.
I have a motion to approve that list.
So moved.
Moved, is there a second?
Second.
Question?
Yeah.
Sorry. Someone was asking earlier this evening, what is the time frame for someone who maybe didn't show up tonight, but they wanted to, be part of the finance committee? Is there a deadline before, or was this the deadline, the caucus?
Typically, the caucus is the night that everything happens, but I would be remiss to say that in past years, there's been someone that's raised their hand and has been appointed prior to the finance committee meeting. And just so that everyone knows, we will probably be looking to have the first meeting of the finance committee by the second week of November. I think we gotta deliver a budget to the commissioners first, and then that really kicks off the finance committee work. So that's our time frame. We're hoping to do it a little quicker this year, and so hopefully we can get a couple of dates in November and maybe one December to get the ball rolling, so we're finishing up sooner than we did this past year.
Thank you.
The ones that were here tonight, we explained to them, that we might be doing it, like a Saturday kind of day, and they were all, I was supportive of that, instead of going with 3 to 5 meetings, and, so they were very, were supportive with, coming like on a Saturday from 9 to 5, or,
That would be helpful, because
Well, that's
with,
what I told them. and
with,
they were
all-
here.
with so many communities that have their meetings on different nights, there used to be the communities used to have either Monday nights or like Wednesday nights, but now they're Monday,
Yeah.
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, so trying to schedule meetings is very difficult.
They were
Yeah, that's
very
why-
supportive of that
Heads
idea.
up.
So, and I support all of this, obviously, but I do make note that it would not be a terrible idea to remember that by referendum, we could probably change the composition of the finance committee to allow others than just elected officials to be appointed to the finance committee. And that might fill out this roster quite a bit from where it stands.
That is baked into the charter, however, so it would have to be a charter amendment to
Right,
change it.
which would mean a referendum countywide, but there's probably a few other nits and pulls and draws that could be
I think
changed.
it's also in the statute.
It's in state statute.
Well, we have state legislators that come from this part of the country too, so. Okay, do we have a motion to accept that list?
So moved?
Moved and seconded, all those in favor? Aye,
Aye.
it's unanimous. And authorization, 24086, authorization to submit a grant application. I would move to table this item for until the next meeting.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all those in favor?
I just want to put, I'm not sure when comments come in before we start to vote. I just want to be on the record and make sure people understand my comments earlier in terms of this grant. I hope people heard me saying I'm open, I think it's a great idea. I'd love to learn more about it. I hope people heard this, and that if they're able to follow the grant procedure page here, it's a one-pager, you know, if they start on this now, and I don't know how many days, and I don't know when the deadline is, but I'm really excited, hopefully in October, if we see this come before us again, to hear about it with people who have weighed in, whether it's our finance, public health, to have a complete picture of what it is, because I think it's exciting. I think that's always great to kind of go after grants if they make sense, but I hope that some folks didn't get the wrong impression that I had a closed door about it, a closed mind about it. I just wanted more information, and I'd be willing to look at it again in October. So I just feel like I don't want to be misinterpreted, and I want to have a chance to say again that if we do it the right way and we follow all the pieces of paper together and the right information, I love doing the work. Thank you.
No, go ahead.
Well, I agree, Commissioner. I have a similar feeling with that. I have other background information because I've dealt with a number of the sheriffs that you spoke about. And what I was trying to aim at with some of my questioning was kind of the life cycle approach to to the citizen or to the incarcerate coming out, and what the difference was between the two programs, because what I've heard from others that have the program is that it does save the county money in the end, even though the cost is just, it's like shifting from operations into the capital cost. And so I want that kind of data to see if it's that way. That's kind of what I was aiming at. So I think this, I agree with you. I think the opportunity for us having a better program and then lowering the return of the person that gets out of jail because of their activities. I mean, the one thing that caught me right off quick was he said he gave me 30 days worth of pills. Well, you get out on the market and they probably take 2 and sell the others. So.
And what is the magic number of 30 days? I mean, so much of what I know in, recovery programs, it's a little bit longer than 30 days to make sure someone's nailed it. It's every one day at a time. And so I just think there's a lot of information on someone's health and benefits of someone hopefully, turning the corner on addiction that, I'm sure one shot is great for 30 days, but there's so much more to it. So I think it's a good thing to delve into.
I've got a question for the county staff. Do you think this is more practical, or that this could be returned around? All this for paperwork and all this, and, come before with the grant committee, could be done in the next 30 days? Or is it going to take some real discussion and really, get into the weeds with where are we gonna get this money at the year number 3? And, do we wanna start with something and not be able to continue it? Because I think that's always been on our plan, is don't put something into place that you can't continue and you can't fund it for for however long. And with 2 years is not very long, to fund something, like this, if we can't come up with some kind of funding. But, and that's $320,000 a year. That's a big percentage.
Well, I was a little taken back that Somerset's running their program as robust as it is on grant dollars. They haven't even baked it, so I'd like to know what their game plan is. So
Right.
there might be a call to their county manager to see, what's your game plan to bake in? And I almost want to say they're spending $600,000 to $800,000 a year on their program. Whether we can pull it off, I think it really comes down to whether they're willing to use the resources within the county government to help them, because I think clearly they didn't have a game plan this evening. They really didn't have a true understanding of what this was going to take, and especially the back end and what it means to have wraparound services when someone leaves. That's the most important aspect of this whole program. you know, Public Health has offered, and they told them that they're all set. They denied Public Health's offer.
That was with tonight or
That
before?
was, that was in anticipation of this grant.
Oh, wow.
Public Health has already been told that they're okay.
Do we allow that? I mean, aren't we, don't we try?
Here's what I think we
together?
allow.
Well-
The fiscal outcome is definitely one of the issues.
Right, yeah.
And, you know, I don't think it's always true that if you don't know the funding 3 years out, then you're paralyzed, but it's definitely a consideration. I mean, I think if we had acted on this tonight and turned it down, we would be subject to criticism for not giving it a full try. But if we had acted on it, we'd also be subject to criticism for taking, I think, what a lawyer would refer to as third-hand hearsay as the way to understand what's going on next. And that's, you know, that's irresponsible as well. So, you know, that's,
Well, it wasn't a no, it was a table. They have like 24 hours in every day, like all of us, to get the work done and show us something that's worthwhile.
Alex, you have something?
Yeah, I just do want to comment that,
While we're
aside,
debating this tabling motion?
no, you know what, I'll stop
Non-debatable.
talking. Yep, never mind.
No, go ahead, we're doing it anyway.
No, I think that's a very good point, actually, for another time.
All those in favor of tabling this matter for a month? Say aye.
Aye.
Aye, it's unanimous.
Now, do you
Now,
wanna say-
Alex, what do you have to say, please?
There are some very real potential cost savings in moving from twice-daily pills and paying for those twice-daily pills. Yes, we have some funding that partially offsets that, but it's turning into an increasingly large number to transitioning to one shot a month. So we spend a great deal on staffing through Armor for these programs. So there is potential, and there are an awful lot of people out there looking towards this as possibly a good thing. However, yes, this has to be organized properly. That's all.
You know, and it's too late for this, but in the future, it would not be unheard of somebody like Cumberland County and York County getting together on that program and sharing that kind of.
And I guess just another tack on to that, there is a ton of research out there, and this is something that Random from the COSUP program or Jen or really any of these people could talk about, but it really all does come down to those first few days. Those first few days out mean the world. So I really truly can see how a person walking out the door not having to think about that one thing at all during those first few days would be an awfully big deal. That ties in with a lot of what I've been hearing anecdotally over the years. So.
Yeah, and we just hear, mostly informally, about people that come out of incarceration. They haven't had access to their usual dose, or maybe they haven't had access to anything, and they hit it pretty hard on the second day out, and it kills them. It's an overdose because they're no longer accustomed to it. So, and they think it's fine, but I think we've had some deaths at the jail as a result of that kind of phenomenon with people. Okay, comments from anybody involved? The manager, please,
I'm good this evening, thank you.
and the assistant manager.
I'll just-
Deputy manager, sorry.
Make a couple of comments. It's all construction. Wednesday is a big day down for jail medical. That's the day that the actual slab that forms the floor of medical gets poured. Right now, they put a tremendous amount of work into the pilings, the soil treatment, plumbing going into there, but Wednesday's the day. It actually will look less interesting at the end of it, because then it's just gonna be a smooth slab. But it's kind of a big moment for them, so that's that point at which it's truly out of the ground. Benchmark Construction's been on site for Northport for the past couple of weeks. We'll get our first look with Sandy at that tomorrow to see how they're going on with it. And one item that I think will be of particular interest to the commissioners at the next one, it's really just going to be a small bid, but it'll be the audio-visual bid for how all this works in the new building. So, you know, anyway. funds. That's all I got.
Teresa, we got any money?
We never have enough, right? I could turn in my last item on the audit today. I have one more, the fixed assets to work in conjunction with Alex on. And then I will officially have everything turned in for the audit. So that is exciting. So, and last week was quite a busy week. So then I'm looking forward to moving back to the regular day-to-day business and scheduling improvements for all departments. It's been a bigger, keeps coming up to the front, so I'm gonna move on with that with the Christine, my payroll person in IT is gonna be supporting that. And then the new credit card process to help with uploading receipts and easier electronic approval is on my forefront. So those are the things that were pushed aside a little bit when I was working on for the audit, and now those will be back into full motion for improvements in process going forward. So along with the regular daily activities.
Very good. Amy?
A few things. This Thursday is our first meeting with the jail corrections union for negotiations. They requested to start earlier, and so our first meeting is actually this Thursday with them. We also will be starting negotiations with dispatch at the beginning of next month. Their labor agreement expires December 30th. The jails doesn't expire until June 30th. We do have a number of, a lot of activity at the jail, as you've been a recipient of a lot of letters. The prohibitive practice complaint has been moved to a hearing, and so we are preparing for that. We are waiting for an answer for our arbitration hearing we heard last week, and we have another one coming up in next week, all from the jail. We are meeting with patrol leadership tomorrow in another attempt to streamline the hiring process. But they have put Joe Dyer, a newly promoted lieutenant, on that hiring committee with us, and he'll be the primary contact. So I think that's a great move for HR. I think Joe will do a terrific job. And lastly, I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up some numbers of hiring at the jail. And we've just done a review of the last 2 years. We've hired 61 new correction officers, and we've only retained 35. So, and in addition to, that was a loss of 26. In addition to that, we lost an additional 20 over these last 2 years, for a total of 46 correction officers. And then, in addition to that, we've had a number of internal moves of correction officers going to other jobs within the sheriff's department, from the kitchen to transport to promotions to patrol deputies. So we've lost 54 correction officers over that same 2 years, and we've hired 61. This is bringing our numbers in lower than they've been before. For budgeted correction officers of 86, we currently have 65. Of those, 10 are in what's called a pre-academy. They haven't gone to the academy yet. And that also includes 5 correction officers who are on extended family medical leave and military leave. So they're not active in the jail, but they're active on our payroll. I wish I had better news. Retention clearly is a continual problem. We have 30 candidates right now in process in the various stages from interview to all the way through the physical. But we're losing our battle. I don't know how else to say it. We were hovering and treading water about 12 to 14 below the 86, and now we're at 22. So we continue to churn out candidates, and they just aren't able to retain them at the jail. Yes.
So, thank you for the data, that's super helpful. I'm sorry it's a losing battle, it's super demoralizing when you work so hard to get people in and they just don't stay. I understand that. But, quick question around the budget, so what you're saying is we have 65 right now? So, we're going into budget season, we're probably doing a lot of pre-budgeting right now. I know you don't have a magic wand, but what number would you think we'd be using to budget for this part of our,
I would leave that up to Jim and Alex.
but we're at 65 right now?
We're at 65, the funded positions are 86.
Yep,
The inmate count, we have opened a pod.
Yep.
In that, this past 2 years, we are getting federal inmates in,
yep,
which is positive
Yep.
for the budget. They're not at the numbers yet that make any significant impact, but the hope is that they'll get to those numbers within the next couple of months, from what I've been told.
and getting to more federal inmates, but we have less people. That seems like a course collision of,
Tuition's
do we,
gonna
do we,
stop.
do we want more federal inmates when we don't have any correction officers that, or,
That's, again, a
The
question that
balance.
I can't answer.
Right.
I know I'm gonna have to answer it on Thursday at negotiations, but,
I'm just giving you a practice right now.
yeah, I already got my answers, but that
They've
isn't,
already opened up a pod, so if the
Yeah.
pod is open for 5 or it's open for
Right.
40.
Okay, So it
So
doesn't matter.
regardless, it doesn't
Okay.
matter.
all right. Well, I'll look for the finance folks to figure out how we're gonna budget for that part of our budget. Thank you, Amy.
you're welcome.
So, and just because I happen to remember, we funded 86. We actually budgeted 120 or something, and it's not it's not funded, because we knew we were never
Understood.
gonna get
But
the,
as we look at the budget, I just don't wanna overfund something that's never gonna happen or fund a losing ship either.
But one of the things that we will be discussing with the commissioners through this budget process is moving our, what's the word I'm looking for, our baseline.
The state baseline funding,
State base.
whether this is the year to exceed the 4% cap, and to get really serious about plugging in those numbers. A part of that would be completely reevaluating the way we determine the appropriate positions, where we would base that off of shifts and shifts available. And we're in the early stages of building that model right now, which at the end of the day, that jail comes down to X number of shifts that need to be filled.
Zero-based budgeting.
Yeah, or
Is that what
shift-based budgeting, I guess, I think,
Okay.
yeah, rather than position, because
Right.
at the end of the day, for 24/7,
Right,
the position doesn't matter as much as
The
the
shift.
shifts. And really making that shift.
And if we bring back some of those unfunded positions, it won't be all of them. I believe there are 44, 46 positions unfunded at this point between sergeants and corrections officers. And we'll attempt to bring back some, but we can't fill the 86 that we have, let alone how many more do we add and roll
Lose.
the dice and try to
sure.
fund those too.
the union screamed bloody murder when we didn't fund all 120 or whatever the number is, and we knew we were never gonna make it, and we didn't. So we haven't so far.
But I think
And
for
I
long
think-
term of the jail, we should try to make an attempt to move that 86 a little north.
Yeah, I think you're right.
For the health and the growth of the jail, and if we're able to get on a hiring streak and we can get some people in there and have them stick, that's fantastic, and so we need to do all we can do.
It probably will never happen, but it certainly could happen, that there are some job satisfaction things that could be explored there. There's no reason for somebody to take a job on Tuesday and be gone by a week after Thursday, you know?
And some retention strategies,
Well, that's what I'm talking about.
different too.
I mean, could start with a kind of an anonymous survey of job satisfaction and why your people are dissatisfied. I know people don't, in supervisory positions, don't like to hear the music, but sometimes the music is what you need to hear. So,
Taking the words out of my mouth here, James, which is right. Well, my question I have for Amy is training. We bring people in, and where are they getting trained now?
The sheriff's office would be the better one to explain that to you. But they do get a 5-week crash course now. We haven't sent any to the academy, probably the last 12 that are now being hired. They kept them for the summer and did a crash course of training so that they're safely able to fill shifts on the floor. More than likely, they're not gonna send any to the October Academy, but from what I've heard, they're gonna send some to the January. They have a year in which to send these new hires to the academy. But they've done an in-house training program that have at least given them the skills and understanding and policies to be able to go on the floor and fill shifts.
Is there any difference in retention between those that go to the academy and those that are in the?
Well, they're new, so the academy's new, it just started this summer, so I don't really have any data to support that.
One of the
Could we
things
do a
that
look
needs-
back and find that out? That's a great question.
One of the things that needs to be bolstered is the field training officer position within the jail. We do not have the levels stepping forward within existing trained veteran staff to take on those FTO positions, to give the new correction officers the time and the comfort level to feel comfortable in the jail. A lot of times it's kind of a crash course, even if you come through the academy and go through an FTO. It's not as long as it should be and as intense as it should be, because we do not have the FTOs stepping forward. Even though we've tried to bolster their stipends and everything else, they're just not stepping forward.
70% of those hires have been hired within the last 3 years. So we have some new hires that have been hired that are filling the FTO roles, that haven't been here long enough to really gain that wisdom that you need, but that's what we have as resources.
How do we make that happen? I mean, is that a matter of sitting down and talking with that department, or what is it?
You can realign the responsibilities that go with the extra pay.
It's tied to the training department.
Yeah, no, you have sergeants and lieutenants and captains and everything else, and, what they're doing besides training, I'm sure they're doing something, but if training's a higher priority, then that tells you what you need to do. And, we should talk, about,
Well, I got a question. So at what point do we begin to get really nervous? Because the last time that the numbers were starting to creep up, it was, we confronted the sheriff's office, oh, no, it's fine, and then all of a sudden, if I remember correctly, he comes in and he says to us, well, what are you gonna do about it? It's your problem. So at what point do we call and ask for some numbers, or do we call for a report, or do we call for a workshop with him? Again, what do we do? Do we just sit back and say, well, the numbers are, they're going up, and we've done everything that we can, and, this isn't happening, and, because what was it, about a year and a half ago, was it, that we had a real crisis? And he kind of dropped it on us?
we're likely to have a workshop on that next month.
Oh, okay. Sounds good.
Speaking of anything else, comments from county commissioners?
I'm all
Commissioner?
set.
You're all set. Commissioner Smith?
Yes, I want to let everyone, you're invited tomorrow night if you don't have plans. The Cumberland County Humane Extension has their open house, their annual meeting. It's in Falmouth at the Tidewater Farms. It's from 5 p.m. to 7. And super exciting is there's a pie contest.
Oh, there you go, Jim.
So King Arthur Baking in Vermont, well-known flour folks, it's a pie bake-off. You can bring your pie and potentially get a little prize. There's also a presentation of Gardening in a Climate Changing Environment by Rebecca Long at the University of Maine. So for the gardeners out there, or people interested about food insecurity or food security, that's an open house meeting tomorrow, 5 to 7.
Is it gonna be outside?
It's gonna be
there?
outside, right by the tunnels and all the gardening
that's-
stuff.
We went to that.
It's on their website if you're curious about more info. That's all I have this evening.
Have to drive down back.
You have to drive
Well,
down.
If you wanna know how to garden in these changing times, it's gonna be a good lecture.
It is
Mr.
very,
Gordon.
very interesting. Yeah, a couple things. School is either in or going in or whatever, so let's be careful. Kiddos are on the road. I ran into something I hadn't run into for a long time. It was a block party in the community. The town had shut off streets and so forth. They were having a heck of a time. And my hat is off to them because they raised a number of dollars and a number of pounds of food for the food pantry in Yarmouth as one of their activities. So congratulations to those people. COVID shots and flu shots are available. Please think about taking advantage of them. And the last thing is, we're talking about budgets here, and I'm hearing we're gonna have contracts here, and we've got things we gotta buy over here. I think at some point, we've got to start in earnest talking about budgets are going up, so that the public is aware that that's going to happen. It's not something that's just gonna pop on them. There's no way around it. If you look at the costs of what we're spending for ourselves, and now we're going, it's impacting everybody, and it's going to impact this organization. So I'm not saying hide your head, but we should start to let people know that, yep, we're putting our budgets together, and it's not going to be level. Thank you, sir.
And I don't have much to say other than to mention that the Extension Service Annual Meeting is always a good time. I've been in that pie contest before. I believe I've finished last at least twice, and so it really is something. Actually, they're always making it a point to invite the entire commission and staff, so it's good. And it's gonna get dark soon at night, and so people need to be a little more careful how they drive, and what they're looking out for. There's gonna be people getting home from school in the dark soon enough, and so be careful. And Commissioner Jameson isn't here to compliment all the people that are playing high school sports, so I'll do it for her. So, very good. Motion to adjourn?
Some of
All those in favor, aye?
Bye.
We are adjourned.